Welcome, everyone. You're listening to the first episode of Season 2 of Raising the Bar. I am Bill Ferro, managing attorney of Ferro Cuba Mangano and founder of Ligadejusticia Abogados. In our first season, we talked a lot about my career. We talked about the law and the cases I did as a young public defender and eventually as a private attorney, and some high publicity criminal cases that we got involved in. And we'll touch on that this season as well. But this season, as we have now launched Conexionlatina as a website that is really there for the Latino community, a website where you can listen to programming, you can listen to shows, you can listen to podcasts. We're really moving to diversify and give people options on what they can listen to, where they can get their news from, where they can find out about public events, concerts, anything that will be helpful to the community. And it's an open forum, so we're inviting not-for-profits to the station really anytime that they want. Small businesses, if they'd like to come in, do interviews, have a podcast, be part of the show, we're conducting or accepting applications for that. And again, the whole idea is to be the hub for the Latino community, particularly here on Long Island. We're not a radio station. We're not a social media page. We're not a news broadcast station. We're a combination of everything that people could use, need, and want here in Long Island and the metropolitan area. Obviously, our reach, because we are a web-based platform, our reach goes way beyond Long Island. You listened to Andrea's show earlier this morning with DJ Castellanos. DJ Castellanos has a huge Ecuadorian following in Jackson Heights, Queens. And so we have listeners every day from Queens. We have listeners every day from the Bronx. And then, we get to check it out. We have listeners from Argentina, Buenos Aires, El Salvador, all the countries that our clients are from. So people are sharing our platform with their families back home, which is, again, a big piece of what we do and what we're trying to do on Conexionlatina. We're building this slowly. Very important for us to build it slowly to get credibility within the community. As an established attorney for approximately 35 years, I stake my reputation on everything that we do. I stake my reputation on Ferro Cuba Mangano. I stake my reputation on Cuba Law Firm, on Ligadejusticia Abogados, on Ligadejusticia Foundation, and now on Conexionlatina. And I can stake my reputation because I surround myself with the best people at our law firm, the best possible people here on this platform, and folks that I learn from every day. The key to being a success as a lawyer, as a business person, as a community advocate is to have really good ears. You need to listen. You need to hear from the people, not think that it's all about you. This show happens to be a little bit about me. And I'll float my ego a little bit week to week as I talk about different things. But for the most part, everything I learned from people that I've surrounded myself with. And that has always been my life lesson. You could always learn something from somebody. And, I'll relate a story that I might have talked about in season 1, but I think it's a really important story. Back in the late 80s or early 90s, I was a pretty well-known criminal defense attorney in New York City with a lot of high publicity cases. And I was sitting in a courtroom one day, and a young attorney walked up to me and said, "Hey, you're Bill Ferro, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Do you have a case here?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Then why are you here?" And I said, I'm here to watch a trial." And he said, "Well, do you have a related case? Like, why would you watch this trial?" And I said, "I'm just interested in seeing the lawyers and how they perform and the questions they ask." And the young lawyer looked at me and goes, "But that lawyer is like a second-year lawyer, and, you're Bill Ferro, and, what are you going to learn?" And I invited that lawyer to sit down next to me because I said, "Listen, if you sit here long enough as I will, you're going to learn something from that second-year lawyer, because no matter how many times I've done this, no matter how many times I've done this successfully or will do it in the future, he or she is going to ask a question that I didn't think of. And by sitting here, I've taught myself something. And I practice that in every aspect of my life. I often pick the brains of my staff and ask them important questions. Our staff is extremely diverse here at Conexionlatina and also obviously at Ferro Cuba Ligadejusticia Abogados. And when I say diverse, we are diverse in our representation for the most part of the Latino community. We have staff that's from El Salvador, Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. I know I'm missing. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? Ecuador. There you go. I missed Ecuador. Mexico. But like our staff is a reflection of the people that we represent. So years ago, when I thought I knew better, and Charlie will remember this, and we first started doing radio, I said, okay, here's the deal. You cannot play rancheros. Rancheros is like uncool music. I'm the cool lawyer. This is my cool platform. No rancheros. Rancheros, however you pronounce it. And Charlie and everybody else kind of looked at me and said, okay. And then like a day later that we had a little meeting and they said, our clients really like rancheros. So are we playing the music for you, Bill, or are we playing the music for the people that are listening? And from that day on, rancheros were allowed to be played, along with salsa and merengue and dembow and reggaeton and all the things that I think are cool. But I realized that the things we do on this station, the things we do in my law firm, and the things we do in life are again, a reflection of the people that we surround ourselves with. And, I'm a very passionate advocate for the immigrant community. And the reason that it's important to have launched this platform when we did is we're about 2 months away from a very, very huge political election here in this country. And I don't care who people vote for. Everybody has the right to vote for anybody they want. But as a strong immigrant advocate that's built my business around representing both documented and undocumented individuals, I do have a vested interest in seeing that my clients and this country have the best possible representation, the best possible president. I don't love our choices at all, but I do love the fact that we are still a free country and you can vote for whoever you want. And I'm happy to debate anybody, but there's going to be changes in the law. There's going to be changes in the immigration law, whether President Trump or Vice President Harris is elected. It's going to impact people. One way or another, it's going to impact people, and immigration will be important. And that's why my partner Lance Cuba and I purchased a law firm about a year ago, and it's called the Cuba Law Firm in New York City. It's another branch of our business, and it's strictly an immigration practice, and we represent people all over the country, but particularly here in New York. And one of our plans is to have a series of free seminars, legal seminars. We could talk about personal injury and criminal defense, but the questions that people are going to pound us with are going to be immigration-related questions. What's going to happen if President Trump comes in and evictions are bad, but deportation is worse. What happens if the deportations start on day one? And we're going to try to provide answers for that. Nobody knows what the answers are. And so we urge everybody who's eligible to vote to get out and vote. It's a really, really important part of your rights in this country is a right to vote, and we urge everybody to vote and make a wise choice. Again, I don't have an opinion who you should vote for. I have enough trouble giving my own opinion on who I should vote for. And this isn't a political show. It's really a show about the people, for the people. It's about the law. It's going to be about politics. It's going to be about current events. And my goal, because this is what I do every day, is I try to make myself a better person. And that's why the show is called Raising the Bar. No matter how high you go, try to jump higher, try to reach higher, try to achieve more significant things in your life. And so the interviews that I plan on conducting are not going to be softball interviews. If I bring a politician in here, I want to know about their life. I want to know where they came from. I want to know what they're passionate about. And I want to know what they want to do to make Long Island a better place for people, to make New York a better place for people, and to make the country a better place for people. If you're a business person and you come in here for an interview, I'm going to ask about your philanthropy, about your giving back. Because again, that's something that's very important to me. Lots of lawyers advertise on TV. If you've been injured in an accident, call Johnny Schmuck and, 1-800-lawyer dude or whatever it may be. That's not what we do. Yes, Ligadejusticia Abogados is a brand, but you don't see our commercials on TV. You don't see me on the bus. You don't really hear us on much radio. So the type of advertising that we've done, which has led us to have a foundation, is giving back to the community. And I'm really proud of the things that we've given back, whether it's back to school, where this year we were probably going to top off helping 2,000 kids or 1,500 children at the annual toy store, now going on, I think it's 14th year this year. Our camp, Our summer program was incredible. We had 25 kids in camp full time, going to some of the most amazing places possible. We have an after-school program. Medaya, the executive director of our foundation, helps hundreds of kids every year with their college applications, with their financial aid applications. So everything we do, everything I strive for is to push people to be the best. So we hire young people at our law firm and we give them the opportunity to grow. There's nothing more rewarding to me than watching a young person mature and grow into their job to the point where now they're very passionate about helping people, where phone calls are not bullshit. Your job is real. Your job is real. These people are calling because they need help. They need our help. And from the moment they call, the idea is to make them feel more comfortable than if they went anywhere else. And we do that. I mean, I know that, with myself and Cam Mangano and Mike Manalakis and on the personal injury side and Lance Cuba doing the immigration and things like that, we have the high level of skills that lawyers need. So people know that. I mean, our reputation is really outstanding as lawyers. Myself and Cam Mangano have been elected New York State super lawyers for more than 10 years in a row now, which only is an award given to 5% of all the lawyers in New York. I'm not sure why I get it. I know Ken gets it. Maybe I get it just because I'm passionate or maybe because I used to have a really good reputation, but I'm still nonetheless very proud of it. So the clients know they're getting the best lawyer, but it's more than just about being a lawyer. It's the best service you can get. It's making clients, particularly immigrant clients, knowledgeable about what their rights are. It's so important when people call, they have no idea. So we take our time doing the intakes. More importantly, we take the time when their case settled to let them know that they have a choice. I can tell you the offer is $150,000, but I want you to tell me what you want to do. And sometimes clients are shocked by it because the few times they've dealt with attorneys, they've been told what to do. They really haven't been asked. And at the end of the day, the hundreds and hundreds of people I represent every year, they're my boss. All right. I might be the boss of the law firm. I might be the boss here. But on a day-to-day basis, if I have 700 clients, I work for 700 people. And they need to understand and appreciate that. Now, I don't want them to abuse me, but I'd like them to listen to me, take my advice, and then talk to me, debate me on why the case should settle or not settle. Understanding that if they're charged with a crime, they don't have to immediately plead guilty, that we will go to court for them 5 or 10 or as many times as it takes till we get what we believe is the best possible outcome for them. So we don't charge by the hour that way. We just kind of give people a flat rate and you know what? I think they're getting great representation, but it starts at the front. Starts with the phone calls coming in, people Googling, people searching, abogados de accidente en Nueva York, and ligadejusticia comes up and they're calling, so they're shopping. And our conversion rate is really, really high because as soon as they make that call, as soon as they make the connection, they know they've come to the right place. So again, back to, the show and the people that we're going to interview, everybody's going to be pushed. I want everybody that comes in here to make a promise to raise their own individual bar, to be better at what they do. And if they're not, I'm going to call them out on it. If they're not helping the community in some way, they're going to have to tell me why. It's my show. I get to ask them whatever I want. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do here. We're going to have some of the staff and some folks here ask some questions. So we're going to do that live Q&A. I have no idea what they're going to ask. I said no questions are off limits. But now we'll go to a quick song by one of my favorite artists, NF. That was NF, Miss the Days. Love that song. But before I get into the next part of the show, I just want to announce something that's really cool that just came across my phone. I'm kind of pumped up about. Liga de Justicia Abogados is one of the sponsors for New York Empire FC, which is the hottest new semi-professional soccer team here on Long Island. They had opening home game at St. Joe's College in Patchogue Sunday night. It had about 500 people in the stands. It was an amazing, amazing night. They won 2-0. Tremendous performance. And the league just put out their players of the week, and they named my son, Max Farrow, coach of the week, which is pretty cool for all of the East Coast. So that's like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. So we're pretty pumped about that. Listen, I love being a sponsor of soccer. I'm very passionate about soccer, but The fact that my son is head coach of the team and is an owner of the team is even better. Carlos from our office is one of the players on the team. And after the game, watching kids just jump all over Carlos and the other players and Max and ask for autographs was, it's strange because my son's 30, but it was one of the great moments of my life, getting to watch him sort of live his dream, take the next step in the goal of living his dream. And that's what everybody should aspire to, As a parent, we try to direct our kids in a certain direction, tell them what to do. And if I have any regrets as a parent, it would be telling them what I thought they should do as opposed to what they want to do. Follow your passion. Nobody ever told me what I should do. I mean, I'm Jewish, so my Jewish mother said you should be a lawyer or a doctor, and my grades said I should be something else other than a lawyer or a doctor. But here we are. So really, really proud seeing Max raise the bar, his own personal bar. So that's really cool. And wishing them only the best as the season moves forward, and we're proud to be a sponsor of them. So back to the show. I thought what we do now is a little bit different since this is sort of opening day. And we haven't really had a preseason. So, I jumped in here today and everybody said, what are you going to talk about? And I said, not really sure. And that's true, but apparently I can just keep rambling on and on and on. But some of my favorite people are on the other side of the glass. And so I suggested, unscripted, that they just ask questions of me and told them that nothing is off limits. So we have Andrea.
Hi, nice to see you again.
The host of our #1 rated morning show.
You go. Woo!
And Michelle, one of our newest employees, and very shy. And she's been getting a taste of a little bit of everything, particularly here, helping out coordinate the Wednesdays. And we have Romy, who is one of the first voices you hear when you call Ligadejusticia Abogados, and one of the people I was speaking about who has really raised her personal bar, over the last few months and has really become a star in our office. And Charlie, who does pretty much a little bit of everything. He does a lot of graphics for us. He's doing all the technical here on the radio show. And Charlie and Andrea have been with me for a really long time in different capacities. Who's over there? Milton, but he's not going to ask any questions. Or he could ask them in Spanish, and I'll answer them in Spanglish. Milton is the key to what we're doing here. He's handling all of the videography and the photos, and did the entire website for Conexionlatina, which is growing every day and is building every day. So who better to ask questions than my team? Now, some people on the other side might say, well, I don't know. You're asking your team. They're going to ask you easy questions. But I don't know what questions they're going to ask. And so go for it, whoever wants to go.
They're not hard. They're pretty easy. And I know you're always ready to respond. I know you mentioned something in the past break about immigration. And that's something that it really concerns me because we do work a lot with the Latino community. And that's what, we emphasize the most, because we are around so many Latinos. And I know elections are coming. And I feel like that's going to be a chaos when the time comes. If, everybody's so scared that Donald Trump wins, what happened if he will do, what's going to happen with people, right? Are you guys ready to handle all those cases? Because I know you guys have a lot of offices, right?
We do.
But, a lot of people say, okay, how are you guys going to do that? You're in Manhattan, you're in Brentwood, you're in Hapag. So many people are going to come at the same time for the same thing,
Right. So I think part of that, the part of the answer to that, Andrea, is that, we're unveiling a grand opening, probably next week of our Hampton Bays office. So we'll have Riverhead and Hampton Bays. And you're right, we're stretching ourselves to a lot of different places. But those offices will be key because the vast majority of immigrant Latinos on Long Island really do live east of Exit 70, I would say. All right. The different Hamptons and Montauk and places like that. So, there's a big bulk of Latinos and immigrants there. So we need to be able to service them. As far as are we ready, I mean, you don't know the volume that's going to come. Obviously, the one thing we're not shy to do is bring on more staff if the need is there. But the most important thing about being ready is continuing to learn, continuing to evolve as lawyers. So, and listen, I'm not an immigration lawyer, so I can't speak to it, but there's something that was called Biden PIP this week that they were talking about. So my office had an entire lunch and learn about it yesterday in Manhattan. So we're going to stay on the cutting edge and be prepared. You sort of expect the worst out of situations. President Trump is running on a platform of deportation, calling every single person who immigrates to this country either mentally ill or a criminal. And it's so incredibly insulting. I've said this time and time again. And it's not to say that these are jobs that only Latinos can do, but look at the restaurant industry. Look at the hotel industry. Look at the vineyards all over Long Island and the farms. And look at who's working there. And those are important parts of the Long Island economy. And if we eliminate all of the undocumented people here, those industries are going to die. And the economy here in Long Island will be worse than anywhere else in the country. So I would suggest, before we start worrying about deporting people, we worry about documenting them, giving them identifications. If it's not a driver's license, some form of identification. Like I would love, if I was president, I would say, if you're undocumented, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Don't be afraid. Raise your hand. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to embrace you, especially if you're following the laws of our country. But we need you here, all right? But we need to do it in a certain way. I get that. Mass importation, forget deportation, but the number of people that are coming to this country right now does put a strain on the country, no doubt. It puts a strain on the healthcare system. It really puts a strain on school districts, all right? And again, people aren't equally distributed amongst the school districts, so sometimes the school districts that could afford the least get burdened the most. So if we know Brentwood School District is 60% Latino, I have no idea, but let me just throw that number out there. If it was 60% Latino, and where do you think the immigrants that are coming to Long Island are going to want to live? They're going to want to live in Brentwood, or they're going to want to live in Farmingville. And so those communities are getting the most immigrants and getting the least aid, so it's impacting those school districts. But as an attorney, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready to educate people. So we're planning on doing a series, as I said, of legal and immigration forums over the next few months with Sammy Gonzalez, with the Salvadorian Consulate, and probably with Head Start as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Good. Now, another question that I do have is, like, as you know, nowadays it become very popular, all this stuff with lawyers, and I help you and this and that, and so many companies of lawyers everywhere, and everybody always needs a lawyer. But what makes you different? Why people should trust you? Obviously, I know because I worked for you so many years, and I know who is Liga, and people see us in different events. But why people should choose you? Why they choose Liga, and not another lawyers? Why they should trust you?
Sure. So I would say this, Andrea. I'd say that I believe myself and our other attorneys are really good lawyers, but I would also say that I'm a better person than I am a businessman. Not that I'm not successful. I mean, we have these offices, we have these platforms and things like that, but I could do much more probably for myself and my family if I was more selfish. But I'm passionate about the people that we represent and what we're trying to do. So yes, I'm in the business to make money, but I'm also incredibly proud of how many people we help. And it's not just Christmas and holidays and things like that, which is great, but it's every day. It's, being out there and educating people and giving them the opportunity to come to a law firm where they have the chance to interview us. Do you want to hire us? Most of the time when they meet us, they do want to hire us. But that's why I think people should choose us, because we care. Because we have a proven track record. We don't just show up at events and, spend the most money. We could give out all sorts of gifts and appliances and things like that. But at the end of the day, do you really care about the clientele? Do you really care about the community? And I think that people who have worked with us, not-for-profits, other companies, politicians, elected officials, whoever it may be, if you say Bill Ferro, they're going to probably say pretty good guy, somebody who cares, and his office is somebody who cares, and I'm proud of that. And that, if that's ultimately my legacy, if that's what it says at the end of my tombstone, great husband, great dad, great guy. I'm good with that. I really am. So I think people will choose us because we care.
So just bouncing off of that question that Andrea asked, why people should choose you, something that I've admired when I started working for you is because you don't speak Spanish. You're another white guy, but you've chosen to help the Hispanic community and really, be an advocate for it. So I wanted to know, you can even touch back on when you were in school, what made you decide to be an attorney or, spark the interest of, I got to help these people?
Sure. So once I knew I was a lawyer and I had a business going, I saw things that were going on in the community that I thought were unjust, particularly the attack and murder of Mr. Lucero years ago in Patchogue, which was a tremendous, tremendous tragedy to this community. Somebody who was killed merely because he was Latino. And I didn't like the way the government handled it. I didn't like the way the county executive at the time handled it, Steve Levy, and I saw a man, Reverend Alan Ramirez, who obviously was Latino, and he was a reverend at a very, very affluent church not far from my home. And I listened to him advocate. First of all, I love people who are great public speakers. That's why I love doing summations and giving speeches, but I love people who are great public speakers, and those are the people I emulate and try to follow and learn from, and I read books on speeches, and I thought he was such an amazing speaker. And I paid a publicist that I found $500 to get me a lunch date with Reverend Ramirez, and Reverend Ramirez told me this, and I'll try to make it quick, but he asked a lot of questions of me about my family and where they were from, and I told him, my grandparents came from Russia, and how did they get here? And I said, my uncle came here, and then he was in the army here, and then he went back, and with the money he had, and he brought back his 5 sisters and his parents by paying people, because in Russia at the time, Jews were not very well received, and so they had to escape, and they came here. And then Reverend Ramirez asked me where they lived, and I said they lived in Brooklyn. And then he said, who did they live with? And I said, my mother said they lived with 17 cousins. And then he said, where did they work? And I said, my grandfather worked in a butcher shop. And he said, oh, like a bodega. And like after I was done, he said, see, your people and my people are not very different. It's just years later, because Latino people come here, they come with large families. People complain because they live together, just like my mom said, they live with 17 cousins. They work in bodegas or other places they can get jobs, just like my grandfather did. And they were escaping oppression, just like people who are crossing that border from Mexico and Guatemala and other places that are, that's dangerous for them. So once I felt that inside of me, I just got really passionate, and Reverend Ramirez became a really dear friend of mine, and we did some amazing things together. And we still stay in touch. He retired and moved to Mexico City, but I'd say he is the reason I'm so passionate about what I do.
That's good. That's very passionate. I like that.
This is going to be the most serious question in this show today. What's your favorite food and why?
What's my favorite food? All right, so I'd say pizza is my favorite food. In the movie... oh gosh, what was that movie? Wedding Crashers? And Vince Vaughn was trying to make a point to somebody, and he said, it's all good, like pizza. Like there's no bad pizza, which isn't really true. There's bad pizza outside of New York everywhere, but I love pizza. It's just easy. It's good. Amore in Queens, #1, all of New York. Go for it. I know the hot answer would have been for me to say something like chicharrón or arroz con pollo or plantanos or whatever the heck I could have said, but nope, I'm sticking with pizza.
Hello.
Hi, I'll take Shy Michelle for 100.
Nothing. Since
Nothing.
no, it's okay. Since schools are starting, especially colleges, I started college already again. I have like a 2-in-1 question.
Sure.
All right. So what type of advice would you give college students that want to be lawyers, that are going to take the LSAT, the bar, and what are the key ingredients for them to become great lawyers like you?
Awesome question. All right. So this is what I think. When you're in college or undergraduate, you should take as many different type of classes as you can. Listen, I'm a big believer, and I know it's hard to get a job if you don't go to a graduate school, if your major is liberal arts. But liberal arts is really an amazing curriculum because you get to study history, and you get to study, philosophy, and maybe great writers, and it's not as much the science, it's not as much math, not as much science, but you really get an opportunity to read. I wasn't a great reader in college, and I wasn't a great reader in law school, which makes me not such a great reader now. And I know everybody listens to ebooks, and I should do that because I do love reading. I just don't seem to set aside the time for it. But reading is great because especially if you want to be an attorney, because you get to see how other people express their ideas. How, there could be 3 different books on the same topic, and 3 people can approach it from a different angle and can write about it so differently, even though each one of them is passionate about what they're writing. And I think that's great. And I think taking writing classes is really key for anybody who wants to be an attorney, because not everybody's going to have the gift of the spoken word, but that's a small percentage of lawyers that do that. Not a lot of lawyers are trial lawyers, and not a lot of trial lawyers are good. So not that you can't teach yourself to be good at that, but if you're a really strong writer, if you're, understand the law and you can pick it apart, your value to a law firm is really immeasurable. Again, not everybody's going to be able to stand in front of a jury or stand in front of a judge. It's a gift, and it's, too many people waste that gift. I kind of think in some respects, Michelle, I've wasted that gift over the last 10 years because my passions have gone other places, so I don't do it quite often. But yeah, I think it's almost like riding a bike. That's what people say. Like today I went into a courtroom that I'm not really familiar with. It's family court. We don't do that much family court work. I didn't know the judge. I didn't know the system. Within 5 minutes, I had everybody in that courtroom knowing exactly who I was and what my basis of knowledge was, and that, I command a certain amount of respect just for who I am, and that I dole out much more respect than I ever really expect back. So when you do that, people will know that you're legit. So that felt really good. But the other key to being a lawyer is, besides getting your good grades, when you do decide to go to law school, you have to put everything aside to study for the LSAT. Just like you'd have to put everything aside to study for the bar. I would say those are the 2 times in my life I studied. That's it. My 2.7 GPA in high school, not really very impressive. My 2.8 GPA in college, not very impressive, but I aced the big exams. And I did nothing but study for those exams, and very proud of that I was able to do that. But, those are a few days of your life. And so people should take that seriously, but you should take as many different classes as you can. And don't be afraid to take public speaking classes. I didn't know I could really speak publicly until I needed another 3 credits to graduate college. I wasn't going to be able to take them all my senior year at SUNY Buffalo. So I took a 3-credit public speaking course at Suffolk Community College. And it was amazing because I thought the students in the class were really great and they were pretty cool. They thought I was the smartest thing since sliced bread. And we just got along, and I learned from them, but I developed confidence because of how they looked at my ability to speak. And from that moment on, I kind of felt a little bit better about my public speaking skills, and then I decided I could do that. I could do that for a living. I could talk to people, I could talk out loud, or I can just talk on this radio until my time runs out, which it's almost out. So let's do one more question. One more?
This was another very serious one. Since I know you love sneakers, which pair of sneakers are your favorite?
All right. So people say maybe I'm a sneakerhead, but I'm not really a sneakerhead because I don't even know what they are. I just think they look cool sometimes and I buy them. I did buy a pair. Shh, don't tell my wife. Very overpriced the other day. I can't say they're my favorite, but they are the most expensive. I like Jordan 4s. I like SBs right now a lot. But right now I'm kind of honing in on what I should wear to my daughter Sophie's wedding in September. I want it to be a little special, but I'd like them to be Jordans, but I know you're supposed to go like Gucci or something if you really want to rock the tuxedo. So we'll see. But I appreciate you knowing, and I really appreciate you keeping it quiet every time a new box comes delivered into my office, because I've got the coolest ones in my office, but I've got about 100 pairs at home. So one day I'll grow up and be like a regular, old guy and wear like boat shoes or Skechers or whatever it is you're supposed to wear. But until now, I'll just do my thing. Thank you. So this has been episode one of season 2 of Raising the Bar. Thanks for my entire staff for being here, for asking those questions. Thanks for everybody for listening. Listening every week. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. I think we'll line up some really good interviews, and we're really going to push people. And we're going to kind of use this format, maybe have people come in, ask the guests some additional questions so they're not just coming from me, and ask them the hard questions. So again, thanks everybody for being here. This is Conexión Latina. My name is William Ferro. Bill Ferro from Liga de Justicia, Abogados Ferro Cuban Mangano. We'll see you next time.